Okay, we're starting Midah Zion, and where we're up to in the Psukim is Mikel Kamoicha Noisei Avain Over Al Pesha. We're marking the 13 Midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mikel Kamocha Noisei Avain 2 Over Al Pesha 3 L'Sheres Nachlosai 4. We've learned about these extensively. Le'Hechzik La'ad Apoy we talked about last week. 2 weeks ago, Ki Chafetz Chesed Hu. And today we're up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is outstandingly kind to us, and therefore we have to be outstandingly kind to every person. We learned it ba'omek. And the reason for that is, Ki Chafetz Chesed Hu. You have to tell him to Shmuel, wake up. Yeah, Nachman Dimpo. Ki Chafetz Chesed Hu, and the reason is Ki Chafetz Chesed Hu, because all of this is that he's a Chafetz Chesed. Okay, I want to go back over that. Yashuv Yerachamenu, Yichboi Shavonosenu, Asashlich V'Msulas Yam Kol Chatasam. So Yashuv Yerachamenu, that's what we're learning about today. What's the translation? Yashuv Yerachamenu. What's the translation? Yashuv. Talking about Hashem.
Return.
Hashem. Well, there's a diktuk here. Yeah. Yashuv Yerachamenu. He, Hashem, does tshuva. Yashuv Yerachamenu, and he has mercy on us. So, where is he doing tshuva? Where's Hashem doing tshuva? So there's a pasuk like that, right? Tashuv alai v'ashuva aleichem. That we do tshuva, Hashem does tshuva. So Yashuv Yerachamenu. So says the Tomer Devorah, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu misnahe kibaser v'dam. Hashem does not act like a person. How does a person act? She'im hichisai chaveiroi kishuhu misratzi by misratzi ba'at loy ba'ava kodemus. Okay, a statement of human nature. Human nature is such that if you and I have a fight, if I offend you, and you're hurt by the fact that I offended you, so we're meruchak, we're apart. Now I come back and I say, I'm sorry, I don't know where my head was, I apologize, forgive me, and being the nice guy that you are, you say, okay, machalach, forget about it, everything's okay. So the shaila is, are we back to where we started or not? So the answer is no. See, I gave you an easy case. Let's say you cheat on your wife. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know where. Like, forgive me. Okay, I forgive you. Right. So right away we're talking nes achat. But is the level of trust ever going to be the same? You've displayed a weakness, a yitzhara, a taiva, capability that, so there's always like this, like sort of like looking askew at everything you do. Like, where are you? Where'd you go? Let's see your emails. Like it becomes like a whole thing. So does that mean that the forgiveness was insincere? No, forgiveness is sincere. I forgive you. But it doesn't mean I trust you. Like, I'm not stupid. And it's true. Like, it's true. Like, why should you be trusted? So why did I forgive you if I don't trust? I forgive you. So let me say it in case you don't understand this analogy. let me say it in a more lumdish way. That every time a person does a chet, let's talk about easier, bein adam l'chavero. So there's really two things that are happening over here. One thing is a violation took place. Let's say I steal from you. Have an affair. That's a violation. It's a violation of the naveira. It's a violation. That's one thing. The other thing that happened, like the violation, that's something unto itself. But then, like, there's a violation. But then there's another nekuda of I've ruined our relationship. So there's like two things that are going on. The violation itself and the relationship. I always think about it like if you get a traffic violation, so you get a violation, If you get, but then they put a point on your license. If you get 2, 3, 4, I don't know how it works here. Baruch Hashem lo zachisi. But in the United States, you get 3 points, 4 points, whatever it is. Sooner or later, you take away your license. What does it mean? Because it's not a violation. You simply don't know how to drive. So what is it in the gavra and what is it in the chefza? What is like? Okay, you've done something wrong. You get a knas. The other thing is like the whole relationship that we have is buksha, like what do we have? So that makes sense. That's a normal thing. You can't expect a person to trust somebody who's not trustworthy. But, says the Tomer Devorah, the Eina Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Snai K'midas V'Asar B'Dam. Hashem has a different angle here. Because if you'll do something which will anger your chaver, Kishu misratzi, and I apologize. Misratzi is even more than apologize. Ritzuyam. Right, I get back into your good grace. Kishu misratzi, ba'at, loy ba'ava kodemes. It's not going to be with the same level of ava. Avol, however, imchata adam v'asat shuva. Let's say a person does a chet against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ma'alosa yoser gedoyloi b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only is the relationship back to where we started, but even have a bigger relationship, you have a better relationship, deeper relationship. That's pretty wild. V'hainu, and that's the ovek of the Gemara, which says, B'makom shebalei tshuva oivdim eit tzadikim geburim yecholim la'amod. That where balei tshuva stands, tzadikim geburim can't stand. Somehow or another, the tshuva, so it's nice to say, but we have to understand, like, is
it because Ruchu puts in us weaknesses in the system, and we were meant to fail somehow, and then we worked on ourselves and got...
So somehow, okay, very good. So as I tell you, that failing is part of the process. Failing is part of the process of growing. Having, cheating on your wife is not part of the process of having a good marriage.
It's part.
It's part of the process. But in Beit Abdul Chaver, could it be that way? Could be. So we're not holding by such a thing, right? But it could be such a thing that the negativity that was brought into the relationship brought out a certain need or a certain chasar and then work very hard on that chasar. And it could be that you're not back to where you started. Now that the issue was addressed, now that the chasar was uncovered, so it could be that it is a stronger relationship. But that already takes a tremendous amount of work. Is it worth it, the work or not? So that's what we have to look. Is it worth that work? It might be worth with your wife, it's good for you, but it might not be worth with stop a person, like, get out of my life. It's just not worth it, It's not even worth sometimes, if you feel, I'm not saying this is the truth, but I'm saying where our thinking is, it's not even worth the whole thing, the apology and the mechila, not for Yom Kippur, who needs, there's enough people. You have to be good with everybody, you become already like a pleaser, you have to maybe you could say as far that it's okay. Like everybody has some friends, some enemies, yeah. This is the famous words of Rabbi Berel Wein. He spoke once at Rabbi Berel Wein himself went to, I think it was that he went to Berlin, which was the only place that was training rabbis per se, in Berlin, the rabbinical seminary of Berlin. And Rabbi Berel Wein, the big Litvish Monsey, came to speak at the smicha party, and he said that this was his very famous words that became famous all over the world. He said that a Rav, if you want to be a Rav, if you're a Rav that everybody likes you, then you're not a Rav. And he said, but if you're a Rav that everybody hates you, then you're not a bench. That part I don't quote as much. So there's some kind of there's some kind of a balance here, but in other words, you can't be stuck with everybody liking you and liking everybody. On the other hand, you can't be just a despicable, hateful person. You have to stand up for what's emes. But if you're standing up for what's emes, all right, obviously you're wrong. But everybody has that kind of a side. If you're standing up for what's emes, it's like all of a sudden I have to forgive everybody. We're not Christians. like we forgive everybody, like, okay, turn the other cheek. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in any case, seems to be clear that, and we don't know the lumdus of it exactly, we have a suggestion, we don't know the lumdus of it exactly, that the tshuva doesn't just, again, let me do it the lumdus way, it doesn't, the tshuva we know gets rid of the metzius of the chet. Must speak, you got rid of the metzius of the chet. But what about the relationship aspect? Rabbi Yaacov says in Shar Tshuva, there's two parts to doing a chet. The one part of doing a chet is that you made the pigam and the bria, you violated, you have a person eats treif, Adam Arishon ate the apple, you did something wrong. But the other thing is, so give it back. Ve'eshivas akzela asher gazal. So give it back. But just ve'eshivas akzela, if I'm bakayim ve'eshivas akzela asher gazal, doesn't mean that you don't look at me like a gazel. That's a second. I'm capable of gzela, and I'm capable of even giving it back. But I'm still a gazel. You still can't trust me. You still got to keep the cameras on, right, to make sure that I'm okay. I just want to, before we go further, the Rambam said that Hilchos Tshuva. So I have Hilchos Tshuva. I'm having a hard time here. Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Zayin, the Rambam says as follows: Gedoylo tshuva shemekareves es ha'adam l'shchina. Tshuva has a maila that it brings a person closer to the Shechina. Shenemar Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha. Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha. Return to Hashem Elokecha. So what does that prove, that pasuk? Just learn the Rambam properly. Gedoylo tshuva shebekareves es ha'adam l'shchina. Tshuva brings you close to Hashem. The Rambam's telling us a chiddush here. And Shelebar.
That's what Hashem wants.
Okay, Shelebar, what?
It's an advantage to a person who's hoping does tshuva over the person who's.
Where does it say that? Shelebar Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha. That you should do tshuva. Gedoylo tshuva shebekareves es ha'adam l'shchina. Shelebar Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha.
That's what you do. The tshuva allows you to go ad Hashem.
So the main word here is ad, that you could get. Apparently, without tshuva, you can't get ad Hashem Elokecha. That's the diuk of the pasuk. So Gedoylo tshuva, that's what the Rambam's learning. Gedoylo tshuva shebekareves es ha'adam l'shchina. Tshuva gets you even closer. Gets you even closer.
Not being quite
just being a good guy. So tshuva somehow gets you closer. Shenemar Shuva Yisrael. Hashem says, the Navi says, Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha. So now the Rambam says a drush of it, Nebar, and it also says, this is the real riot. The Rambam works like a Gemara here. Nebar, and it also says Loi Shavtem Odai Ne'um Hashem. In Amos, Amos it's treacherous what goes on over there. He says, talks there. Amos tells the people that in the name of Hashem that I stopped the rain from coming. And you have not returned to me, says Hashem. I stopped your food from coming to you. I caused illness in your family. Over and over again. Amos tells them, and you still didn't do tshuva, you still didn't do tshuva, you still didn't do tshuva. So it's a negative, the whole parak there is a very negative that I'm giving you this pain and that pain and this pain and that pain. By the way, there's no happy ending over there.
Is that because they're still doing the same Avera, or is it because they didn't do tshuva for the Avera that they did in the past?
Basically, I don't know, good question. That's a good chakira. But over there, as I say, Abus, if you read that, it's very depressing because it doesn't get any, there's no end. Then finally, but so what's the Rambam want for this parak? So what he wants is to teach us about the lashon of a very interesting lashon that the Navi says, like Shaftev Odai Dum Hashem. What does Odai mean?
Yeah.
What does Odai mean? You should have said Eli. So the answer is that Eli means you can come to Hashem. Odai is this Rashi says in Amos, is a stronger lashon. You can come babish like into me. You can come babish closer to me. So Lashavtem Odai, so from all this negativity of you still didn't do tshuva, and if you would have done tshuva, Lashavtem Odai Lu Hashem, it would have become Babish Odai. So we see from here that Ad means, says the Rambam, I mean I think this is the way we learn the Rambam, Ad means Ad v'Ad b'chlal. You see that Ad here is a very, very deep, close relationship, not El. Like, I'm going to come towards you. No, not coming towards you. Ad.
Part of you.
So therefore, from this negative nevuah of Amos, you can learn what the nevuah, I believe, of Yoel is, that Shuva Yisrael Ad Hashem Elokecha, that if you do tshuva, you're not just going El Hashem Elokecha, but you're going Ad Hashem Elokecha. El Al Ad. That's the Seder Advar with the Psukim. El Al Ad. Ad Hashem Elokecha is Ad v'Ad b'chlal. So the Rambam is telling us, so we see from here something weird, that Shuva Yisrael, Ad Hashem Elokecha. When you do tshuva, it's all the way Ad.
Can then be requalified to be an aid to Hashem.
To be
an aid.
You're saying a pun, you mean?
Yeah.
V'nemar, im toshuv Yisrael Hashem Elai toshuv, k'loimar im tachser b'tshuva bi tidbak. So you're coming to Dveikus. So now we learned that the A tells you what's the pshat in the Elai. This is like an interesting Rambam. And we know that, and there it says im tachser b'tshuva bi tidbak. You actually have Dveikus in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're not necessarily bored with Dveikus in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you can't necessarily get there without the Chet. So, because without the Chet, you can't do Tshuva. So the whole Chet becomes like the whole Tshuva becomes like a mitzvah b'aver.
Why can't you do Tshuva without Chet?
Maybe you can. I don't know. How do you do?
We're really far. So
Tshuva on the relationship, not on a Chet per se.
But that is a Chet.
Is it? I mean, just like you just don't think about it, I'm just not a spiritual person.
We're born separate.
There's a mitzvah of bo tidbak.
We're born already, as distinct and separate.
From what? From Hashem? Yeah.
So many mitzvahs after some
That's part of the tshuva.
So the Rambam says, Hatshuva, I agree, that's the Rabbi Yaacov says, that's just two parts, but the fact is that we don't find a takana of tshuva for a tzaddik. Find Tzadikim doing tshuva. But at tshuva, but just to finish the idea here, at tshuva b'kareves es harachaykim. So this is, I'm sure, the tshuva itself, this is the chap. The tshuva is b'kareves es harachaykim. It's the chap. If I apologize to you, that's not b'karev me to you. It just possibly takes away the negative. If you grant me mechila, it possibly takes away the negative. If you do so wholeheartedly and you really mean it, you work on yourself, this is difficult. It's a difficult thing to really be weichel somebody who genuinely hurt you. And it's totally meaningless. Okay. But it's totally meaningless. But, I just realized that, you'll forgive me for the simplicity of what I want to say, but this offense business is very real. No, I mean, what I mean to say is like a very real thing. It's I realize myself that if I get offended, so I like just a personal thing. If I get offended, like I always beat myself up for being immature when he's so offended. Who cares what he said? Like that. But maybe I should. But it's a very real thing. It's somebody offends you. I don't know if you're supposed to beat yourself up for being you, but if somebody offends you, you're offended. I mean, that's a very. I'm not saying you have to walk around all day being offended. Like there's such people also like this. They're walking around with a sunburn all day. You just touch them. Well, but I'm saying that if you're normal. If you're normal and somebody says something which is not normal or does something to you which is not normal, offended, it's a very, very real thing. So therefore, it seems to be something, recently, that therefore the bakashas mechila has to be very real. Offense is very real. It's not just a davar shalabakach, like you accidentally, banged into somebody in the line on the bus. Oh, I'm sorry, slicha. We're talking about, we're not talking about slicha, we're talking about mechila. Mechila is something much deeper than that, and it has to be real. And then when I'm boichel, so I'm saying, okay, I'm over that offense. I'm not promoting being offended. I'm just saying that it's a metzius that, okay, I'm over that offense. And even then, I'm over the offense, and I still don't trust you. I still see what you're capable of doing. So you have here something so interesting that we have, which is a tremendous chiddush when you think about it. We're used to hearing it because we're religious. But we know that you can offend Hashem. We said it right at the beginning. A melech aluv, who, he's Mikel Kabocha, melech ne'elah. There's such a thing as offending HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem's not just this energy in the world. Like you can actually offend HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you can ask, which is very real apparently. It's a very real thing, the offensive, and therefore his mechila has to be very real. But it's so real that the act of tshuva itself, which should teach us something about the act of asking forgiveness, the act of tshuva itself is mekareves. It's not the, you hear what I'm saying? It's not the forgiveness, Hashem's forgiveness. Salachti kidvarecha. That's not what's mekarev the person, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the actual act of doing tshuva. That's what does it. The salachti kidvarecha is almost incidental to the act of doing tshuva. The tshuva itself. Wait for okay, did you forgive me? Are we okay now? It's the act of tshuva which is mekarev. That avoda of tshuva. That's what the Rambam says. Tshuva mekareves es harachoikim. The tshuva itself is tremendous chiddush. The tshuva itself is mekarev the rechoikim. Ebesh yesterday is a shanui rather. It's lifnei hamakai. Meshukat, Meruchak, Toyeva, V'hayoim, Hu Ahuv, V'nechmad, Karoi, V'yadid. Looks beautiful, right? Yesterday we hated each other, and today we're in love. V'cheina tamoitze shebeloshin shakadosh baruch hu merachik es hachoitim bam mekarev es hashavim bein yochid bein rabim. Goes on and on. So the kudah I want to bring out is that tshuva itself is the mekarev. What do you want?
I wanted to say what I'm hearing is that in order to have kiruv, you have to have richok, and therefore you can't really. I don't want to say it's a good thing, but it sounds to be like what I was saying is like it's a good thing that people are chotek because the relationship is status, so there's no growth.
Slippery slope, like one of the those that learn certain Hasidic Sfarim like Rav Nachman wrongly, incorrectly. They get so excited about doing a chet. It's like, let's just do this. This is a way of getting close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It becomes like an Aver Lishma. Obviously, that's not what he meant. But the point is that, look, you don't go cheat on your wife so that to improve your relationship. This is not a very smart thing to do.
It's meant to get closer.
Well, I'm just doing this for you. Yeah.
That's how that works out.
Define the richok. Like this, you define the richok, and now you're a chayk, and you carry that. And that's
right. You've uncovered a makom merucha. Yeah, but that's a good question. So, like, if Talmud Tshuva has hold higher than Tzadikim, so then, like, you should do an Aver L'Chatchila. But the answer is that doing an Aver L'Chatchila is not finding the Richuk. You're creating a Richuk.
Tzadikim are also Rochuk.
Hence, Echti Yashuv. Ein Masbikim B'Yodei L'Asos Tshuva. If you do a chet with that kavanah, So ain't must be given the lots of tshuva. So you have to work this out. But let's assume that all of us have some chet somewhere in our portfolio. So we did something wrong. Spoke a word of lashon hara. Something must have done something wrong. Even tzadikim. So ein tzadik bar tzashiyasa tov lo yechta. So there's got to be something, So that act of, you don't have to go look for that. Like that act of tshuva gufa, not the salati. Tshuva gufa is makar. So that's all with Hakadosh Baruch Hu. It's harder. If we're going to, before we learn further, just where he's going to go is that if we're created b'tzelem Elokim, so it puts a different sense of obligation on a person. That if a person is sincerely, and I underline sincerely, doing tshuva, or if somebody offended me, as I say, that's very real, and somebody is sincerely feels bad about it and is apologizing to me, so that takes something. So that tshuva itself should be looked at as an avoda, which is bakar of the person.
That's why you have to do hitbudadut. You have to figure out what things you've done that you need to do.
That's for the person who's but in a person in a ben adam l'chavero area.
You may not know though.
Okay, so now somebody comes, I come and I ask you forgiveness. So first of all, the asking of forgiveness has to be not an apology, but something like tshuva. We're talking about something like tshuva. It's a form of tshuva. The Rambam says before that tshuva doesn't help for ben adam l'chaver. There you have to do a different kind of tshuva. So it's not just that I have to do tshuva, but first I have to apologize. That the apology is tshuva. That is a form of tshuva. Tshuva has a different kind of a tchuna, that the tshuva itself is b'kareves hashchina. The tshuva itself is the kiruv. So if that's the case in ben adam l'vako, that's the case in the ben adam l'chaver. So now let's say we are in the situation of the offended ones. We are the offended ones. Somebody really hurt me, and now and again, that's the caveat here. They're coming and they're doing tshuva. If a person doesn't do tshuva, Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't make them closer. It's only with the tshuva. So, but now the person is coming doing tshuva. So we started off by saying, well, okay, I forgive you, and it's a sincere forgiveness, but do I trust you? Are you back to where you were? So the answer should be yes. Because if there's a true, why? Because if there's a true tshuva, not just a perfunctory bakashas habachila, but if there's a true tshuva, so then I should be able to understand that the tshuva itself has made a transformation within the person who's asking me for bechila, and now I can trust you.
The Chavela level is very hard to know that.
Very hard to know. See, the truth of the matter is people don't change very much. That's the difficult thing over here, and that's what we have to learn about. But I found, just to buy you a little bit of experience, too much experience with people making big mistakes. Let's say they marry wrong or they make big mistakes in their marriage. So they marry again. Generally speaking, they make the exact same mistakes a second time. Even the third time and the fourth time. Very, very few, until they get old, then maybe they get a chance, not because they're a completely different person. But I often find that people, like, if they mess up in business, they mess up in business the second time, the third time, the fourth time. Why? Because why not?
They haven't learned.
Yeah, well, no, why not? Like the same reason I messed up the first time, I messed up the second time, just because you got divorced or you went bankrupt or you got thrown out of 7 shuls. It doesn't mean that you learned, what's the key? It doesn't mean you changed. Very difficult to change. Changing is a difficult thing. So people tend to repeat the mistakes over and over and over again. So the chap over here is not to, okay, let's give it another try. Or the chap is not even to ask mechila. The chap is to transform. But if that person is truly going through a transformative stage, so that I, as the offended one, have to appreciate the fact that this is like real rehabilitation. This is real tshuva.
His tshuva is on the past and it's on the future. He said, forgive me for what he did in the past, and trust me that my tshuva has now become future-oriented. I'm no longer in the past, but I'm going to be somebody else.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
But that second
I think I give you, it seems like, I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm just as a bushel, it seems like like for instance, the Israeli prison system, has failed. So you punish the guy, and then he comes out and he shoots somebody. So what's the, and half of them walk out of jail and say, "I'll see you." I'll see. I'll be back. This guy who's the head of the ISIS. They let him out of the of jail in America. He was in jail. They already captured him. He was in jail years ago in what's that place called? Yeah. He walked out and he said, "I'll see you in New York." Like he made a gesture of a gun. Like there's no tshuva here. So what are they doing? What's the whole point? Like at Manushas, if there's no tshuva, keep him in jail. If there is tshuva, so you trust him. It doesn't make any sense. But there is this idea of like the purpose, the point of the thing should be rehabilitation. Rehabilitation in a relationship is. So if you're ever in a situation where like there was an offense, let's say between a husband and a wife, just share you my experience. So so everybody everybody apologizes, forgives, we kiss and make up. It means nothing. It's garbage. Like the question is, how do you prevent such a thing from happening again? Where was the real nekudas habaya, and some transformation has to take place. Not always somebody's fault. It's not always like the one person has to, you have to change. No, but there's something about this dance that these two people do, which it just gets them into trouble all the time. I mean, that's what I see. Just something like wrong about the whole thing, and then they spiral into this thing. So how do you stop it being kara? It's a big umnus. I wish I knew how. I mean, I wish maybe I got to go back to college or something. But I don't necessarily know how. But I do know that walking out smiling means nothing. It's easy to do. That's easy to do.
No change means no change.
No change means no change. Yeah, very profound. Huh?
That's the Lashon Rambam. Action may be there for.
Yeah. You see, I'll tell you something very interesting. The acclaimed asked, and the Rambam says this whole beautiful, there's a Parak Zayin. He already went through 6 brakim of Hilchos Tshuva. And he already said in Parak Daled, I believe, that something special about Tshuva, that if you do Tshuva Be'ava, your Zdainos Nasik is a Chuyos. If you do Tshuva Me'ava, which is the correct way to do Tshuva, like I really feel bad. Not as opposed to I'm afraid of getting punished, but like Me'ava, yeah, Taka, I really did violate my. Somebody said to me a couple of days ago. He said that it was a little religious when he grew up, but then he wasn't like really into it his whole life. But then he had this really strong heart attack, and it made me think. It made me think, what am I doing here in this world? So that's tshuva, right? That's tshuva. But as he was saying to me, I was thinking to myself, well, that's tshuva, and it can be very transformative, going through something in life. But is it transformative, or or is it that like you're back healthy again? If you get back healthy again, so you're back to the same pastrami and the same ways of the, like as long as you're sick, so it's holding, so it's not good enough just to say, oh, that was bad, Rishayim Malayim Charata. So it's a Rishayim, the Gemara is always asking for forgiveness. So the Achreidim asked, I think the Brisker Rav asked, that why does the Rambam bring all these psukim, he waxes poetic with the psukim and Abus and the psukim and Yoel, Oda, he's saying his own drushes in the psukim. Why doesn't he just say simple, that like he said in Parak Daled or Hey, that if you do a tshuva, me'ava, zdonos nasa kesluyos. So zdonos nasa your sluyos, that would explain why b'makom shetzadik bali tshuva and tzadikim gemur bein michalama, because I did so many averis that I've got a lot of sluyos, right? I'm a serial killer and I do tshuva, so now I've got something over at tzaddik nobody has, because all those murders became like gewaldig. So why doesn't the Rambam just repeat, or why does he even have to repeat this halacha that tshuva gets you higher even? No, zedonos nasa kesliyos. So I think that I don't know what the Brisker Rav answers. I'm sure it's a good answer, but I'll just tell you my answer. That there's 2 dinim here. That one din is the din of the pigam. This I learned from Rabbi Yaacov. That there's the din of the pigam of the avera gufa, and the other din is the relationship that got hurt. So when we say zedonos nasa kischuyos, that just means Lagabi the Cheftza of the Avera. That Avera somehow magically becomes a schus, however you want to understand it. But that doesn't mean the relationship is back to where it should be or even better. You with me on this? So it's not what he's talking about in Parak Dalet there. He's talking about in Parak Zayin, two different things altogether. There he's talking about you do an Avera, create some kind of a pagam in the bria. However you want to understand it. Let's say so a person's on a certain diet, you're not allowed to eat something. So you ate it. You ate it. And you're sick because you ate it. So you go to the doctor gets it out of your system, medication, blah, 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 you get it out of your system. So good, now you're back to normal. So not only are you back to normal, since you were in the hospital, you're even a little bit better. You're a little bit better than you went in. But that doesn't take away the issue that why'd you eat the stupid thing? What's the matter with you that you even ate it? Like that doesn't take away the chasar in somewhere in me. So the answer is you're going to do the same thing again. Like it becomes like a forever thing that I'm constantly doing tshuva. So Rishayim, Malayim, Charata, always doing tshuva, always kischuyas, going back and forth, totally an unstable thing. Here the Rambam in Parak Zayin is talking about something else. Shemekareves is Lashchina. What's the lashon here? Gedola tshuva Shemekareves as Adam Lashchina is talking about the transformation that took place. So if you take this to a human level, so I mean, it's easier to understand with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you talk about a human level, you're talking about something which is superhuman, because we're talking about allowing an offense on the part of another person create even a better relationship. So it means to say that every time that you're offended, it's not just, okay, now it's become even like a good thing because you apologized, and no, it's transformative that we even have a better relationship than we had before this whole problem began. Stronger than ever.
This can only be talking to the nifka.
What?
This can only be talking to the person who was injured.
Right. That's what we're talking to. We in this whole book are God. Meaning the concept is that how does God handle things? That's how you should handle things, because we're godly. So, and why are we godly? Because we have this Tzelem Elokim. So it gives us tremendous, this particular processor that we have. Tzelem Elokim processor gives us koach. So you have to know what your equipment is. So the equipment that we have allows us to not just accept an apology, but to actually transform a relationship. I keep on repeating it because I think it's so gewaldic. It's like it sounds to me to be. If you think about it maturely, it's almost. I would just think back of any time you were offended, if anybody was ever offended here. I always like if anybody was ever offended. It's very deep. An offense is very deep. It's very real. It means like you mamish don't know who I am. You mamish think that you. How could you do this to me? You really don't, how could you do this to me? You have no respect. How could you do this to me? So, and the answer is that if you've ever offended, now you have to think, now is that relationship better now than it was even before he offended me? Assuming that the person asked Bechila. So, I don't know. In my case, usually the answer is no, not better. So it's livable.
Our children offend us all the time.
Exactly right. So does that make us closer to our children? It should.
Yeah.
The answer, it should. It should. And maybe, what did you say? Sheva Yipol, Tzadik become. So such a beautiful thing in the Izbitcher last night. I was learning the Torah of the Izbitcher Rebbe. He says that strong lashon. He says you're not allowed to walk by your children without telling them how wonderful they are. Asr. And he says you're not allowed to walk by your wife without telling her how beautiful she is. You think it's like it's you're not allowed. It's like a lashon of Isser. Why? Because he talks about that every encounter a person has with their children is to make them closer. Every encounter you have with your wife is to make you closer. Not just a wife, a wife to a husband too. But the point is, it makes you closer. Sometimes you have relationships with people. You say, the best thing for us is that we just don't see each other. If we want to have a good relationship, you go away all day, and I'll go away all day. We'll have a good relationship. Every, and especially if that's without offense. But this is lashon. He says you're not allowed. He has a whole list. You're not allowed to walk by a person on the street and not be makabel him b'sever ponu b'yafos. Not make him feel like you're his best friend. Not allowed. Like not allowed. You know, why aren't we doing this stuff? Like everybody you walk by in the street, hi, how are you? It's so good to see you. They'll lock you up. Right? Some kind of perpetrator of this one.
What is he planning?
Yeah.
Have we met?
I don't know what we are. We're so afraid that so afraid to
Open up and reach out.
reach out to somebody. Just be nice, nice person. Our whole family's so afraid. It's
We
like
don't pass them like this. We don't pass them like
right.
this.
He was weird. He was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
locking up today.
I don't know. So it inspired me. Okay. What will we need to do on Wednesday?
Wednesday.
So for Wednesday is get through the rest of my own. Very, very fascinating, this next piece.
Is it a question?
I don't know, yeah.
The Wednesday.
No, it seems that there's a number of people who can't make it Wednesday. So if we change to Tuesday, does that make it bad for anybody? Same thing?
What's Wednesday?
The swimming pool's open.
Oh, really? Seriously?
I won't joke with you. I'm not offended. Look, people have their priorities.
Okay, now we get offended.
Tuesday?
It's no good.
No?
Me, it's no good. The rest of the guys, like, it's fine.
The Thursday.
Every Tuesday?
Hmm?
Every Tuesday?
Yeah, I've learned.
Swimming pool.
No, I have reversed.
Better than this? You mean?
No, it's not. Well, they're equally good.
Thursday.
All right, so we'll figure it out. The only problem with Thursday is because of Kriyas HaTorah, so let's start 5 minutes later. It's okay with me too. It's good. Thursday good for everybody? Thursday?
There's no pool.
What?
There's no pool Thursday?
No pool, no
We're
Torah.
changing permanently, or we're changing just this week?
No, I'm talking about forever.
I know.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Gil's going to send an email. It's actually